Good morning, Twitter. We're back. Another IMR Scary Tales 3 first day on the job horror stories, man. Every day working retail is a freaking horror story. I ain't even gonna lie. But we're gonna get into it. Hope y'all doing good. And if not, we're gonna fix it. We're gonna get it started.
It's funny how desperation makes you take what you can get, even if it's the worst.
Facts.
The moment I stepped out of prison after 7 years, it felt like the world had moved on. Not that I could blame anyone. My identity was stained, associated with theft, vandalism, and crime. The only luxury I was left was a little jalopy and sausage sandwiches. So when I found the ad for a job as a housekeeper in Caroline's villa, I didn't think twice. No more sleazy part-time jobs at Hooters. No more drunken creeps treating me like crap. I just wanted
hungry,
something
man. He trying to tap.
keep me off the streets. The interview was unsettling. Caroline, the lady of the house, was a 75-year-old widow. From the second I saw her, something felt wrong. Her smile stretched too far, like it didn't belong on her face. Her eyes darted around, wild.
Man, she don't belong on this earth. This is like some freaking demon, bro. This ain't no normal human. What the hell?
And jittery. Then, without warning, she let out this soft, eerie giggle that sent a chill down my spine. I caught her lips moving, whispering to herself, too quiet to make out. My gut screamed at me to leave, but I needed this job.
There's not much to do. Just clean and help look after my son Judas.
Nah, if the lady looking like this, the vibe's already off. Like I'm in this weird dark room. I could find something else. And then babysitting don't even pay like that. So I could definitely find another job somewhere else, bro. Like I'm feeling mad uncomfortable. It's just me and her in this weird dark room. She giving off weird type of vibes. Nah.
Said, her eyes widening.
Nah. He's been resting. My daughter Dahlia likes to keep to herself.
Caroline's laugh filled the room, a high-pitched, eerie sound that made my skin crawl.
Dahlia's a good girl. Quiet, though. She doesn't talk much, just stares.
Despite the weird vibes, I took the job. What else was I gonna do? Sleep in my car forever? I packed up my few belongings and moved in the next morning.
Like, look how this house
was huge, but not in the grand, cozy way you'd expect. No, it was dark and musty, and every corner felt like somebody's gonna jump out at you. Caroline showed me to my room.
You'll start tomorrow,
Caroline said, grinning again.
There's only one rule. Never step outside your room past midnight.
The attic door slammed shut behind her, and I was alone with my thoughts.
Heck no, bro.
The world stuck with me as I lay down.
It's a hot spot.
Sleep well. The sound of wind scraping against the old windows, mixed with the faint hum of whispers from below, kept me on edge. By morning, I was already regretting my decision. Ignoring everything, I started cleaning. The house was a disaster. Caroline and Dahlia lived like they had 5 lives. The filth touched the roof. Dirty towels everywhere.
All this I got to be getting paid handsomely, bro. Like you want me to be in this haunted looking house. The house looked like one of y'all lived in it. Mad dirty. Now you got to be paying me big bucks, bro. I refuse to be doing this for some minimum wage. Heck no. Like for a month, you have to give me like $10K a month minimum.
Dishes crusted with old food. The bathroom was a horror of its own. But my nightmare was Judas's room.
Is he dead?
In a coma, she'd said. So when I walked in, I wasn't expecting the stench of bleach to burn my nose. His room was spotless, like a hospital ward, but the air was thick with chemicals. Judas lay motionless on the bed, pale and sickly.
Bro look like ex-president Jimmy Carter, bro. Man, they might as well just kill the president, bro. Hold on. let me cut that out. They might as well pull the plug on Jimmy Carter. Buddy's 100 years old. He look like the great grandma off of that SpongeBob episode.
For a moment, I could
That's
swear
torture.
He wasn't breathing at all, but the beeping of the heart monitor reassured me. By nightfall, I was exhausted and passed out the moment I fell on the bed. It had to be around 1 a.m. when it happened. An ear-piercing scream smacked me right out of bed. My heart nearly fell off my mouth when the screams came again, sharp and desperate. Without thinking, I grabbed my flashlight and bolted downstairs. My steps halted outside of Judas's room. The door was slightly open, and the bed, His bed was empty. The heart monitor was off, the sheets were rumpled, but there was no sign
Wasn't he
of
just in a
Judas.
coma?
My breath caught in my throat. Could he have woken up? Could someone in a coma just get up? A low guttural chant
no.
echoed from the basement. My feet moved on their own, carrying me towards the sound. I should have turned around. I should have run out of that house and never looked back. But I couldn't.
Yeah.
My legs had grown a mind of their own. I crept down the stairs.
Cut them
one
legs
slow
off.
step after another until I reached the basement door. It was ajar, and an eerie orange light.
Are you talking about the legs caught a mind of his own? Bro, you asking to get killed, bro. All the situations, all the signs, these not even like hints. These are like full blown. You hear screaming. The place already looks haunted. You hear screaming. You going to where the screams is at. That's where you get killed. You're going on a full blown dummy mission. All right? You asking to get put in the casket and buried.
Flickered from within. The scene inside had me frozen. Caroline was hunched over a wooden plank, her hands hovering over Judas's still body. The guy wasn't in a coma. He was gone. Gray skin, lips sunken, eyes half
getting
open.
sucked up.
It wasn't Judas, but
Literally.
his corpse. And beside Caroline, Dahlia stood shivering like a leaf. Her eyes were wide with terror.
Heck no.
What the hell are you doing?
I yelled, not knowing it could be my worst mistake. Caroline's
You done
head
made
snapped
plenty of
down,
those.
Her eyes wild. The woman was possessed.
Be quiet. I'm bringing him back.
She screamed. Next, I was
What
flung
the-
backward, crashing into a shelf as Caroline wrapped her claws around my neck. White spots danced in my vision.
You can't fight
Just
back?
before a complete blackout could take over, Dahlia somehow swung a heavy candle.
Like, she couldn't fight. She's 70, bro. She's old. She could easily get taken out, bro. Like, you asking to get killed, asking to get blacked out. Like, come on, bro. We're not talking about The Rock. We're not talking about Quaymax. We're talking about an old woman.
Stick square at her mother. Caroline collapsed, unconscious. Dahlia dropped to her knees, sobbing
W,
uncontrollably.
she did good.
I tried to stop her.
She whispered, her voice trembling.
Judas died 5 days ago. She fell down the stairs. Mama, she wouldn't accept it. She said the practice could bring him back.
The bile rose in my throat as
Nah.
the realization hit hard. The smell, the bleach, the chemicals, it all made sense now.
Trying to get
Caroline had been
suck 'em.
clinging to her son.
Trying to
We
suck 'em
immediately
up.
rang the cops, but I was already gone before they arrived. I didn't wait for explanations, didn't want to hear them. As I drove away,
They were
my
gone?
eyes glued to the rearview mirror. I half expected to see Caroline's deranged face grinning back at me, but there was only darkness. I could be free from that house, but I would never be free of its dreadful memory.
Everything was screaming at you to run. If you got something in your head or in your mind, your body, like, hey, this is not a good idea. That's what intuition is for. The famous words of Ye and I Wonder. That's what intuition is, bro. If you hear or feel like something's a problem, like something's not safe, you gotta leave. I get she homeless, but like, bro, I'd rather be homeless, looking for scraps, than dealing with somebody possessed, bro. Because I can't fight no spirits. I'm just I'm just a boy. I can't fight no freaking demons. So I'd rather be broke. That's it. Get you another job. McDonald's, fast food always be hiring.
I was thrilled to start my new job at Whitlock and Associates, a quaint
frick is
accounting firm nestled in an old brick building downtown. The office had a vintage charm. My desk was by one of those grand windows, and
That the girl from The Ring? Why she look like that?
directly across from me sat a woman with long, dark hair that cascaded over her face. She glanced up briefly as I settled in, offering a slight nod before returning to her work. I smiled.
Hi, I'm Emma. Nice to meet you.
Look creepy.
She didn't respond, her pen moving furiously over a notepad.
That's definitely the Ring girl.
scratching sound was relentless, almost aggressive. I shrugged it off, assuming she was engrossed in something important. As the morning wore on, I couldn't help but notice her intense focus. Pages filled up rapidly, each one covered in what looked like
Locked
haphazard
in.
scribbles. Curiosity gnawed at me. At one point, I tried to peek at what she was writing, but she immediately slapped her hand over the page,
Oh, snap.
eyes still hidden behind her hair. During lunch break, I joined a few colleagues in the break room and caught a smoke.
Yeah, what's wrong with her?
So, the woman who sits across from me, does she ever join you guys for lunch?
She gave me a puzzled look.
Who do you mean? The woman with long dark hair, always writing in her notepad.
She chuckled nervously.
Must be one of the others from upstairs. They don't gel.
Back at my desk, she was still
Must
there,
be a ghost or
pen
something.
Scratching away. She didn't eat, didn't stretch, didn't even shift in her seat.
Yeah,
the
she ain't
pile
human.
of filled pages was now spilling onto the floor.
You know, it's okay to take a break sometimes.
Silence. I returned to my work, but the incessant scratching was maddening. I slipped on my headphones to drown it out. Later, needing a respite, I decided to get some coffee. As I stood up, I glanced at her.
Starbucks.
She was perfectly still, except for her hand. The way she wrote was almost mechanical, repetitive. In the hallway, I bumped into Mark, one of the
NPC
IT
ghost.
guys.
Hey, do you know if there's a problem with the heating? It's freezing by my desk.
Mark raised an eyebrow. Haven't heard any complaints. I'll check the thermostat. Back at my desk, the temperature seemed to have dropped even more. I rubbed my hands together, glancing at the thermostat on the wall. It read a normal 72
That's a whole
degrees.
spirit.
The afternoon sun cast reflections on the window behind my colleague. I noticed something odd. Her reflection didn't match her movements. While she wrote feverishly,
Heck no.
her reflection sat eerily still, head slowly turning to face me. My breath caught in my throat. I blinked hard. When I looked again, her reflection matched her actions. As the day neared its end, most...
Yeah, that's my last day here. I'm gonna see if I can transfer to a different department, whether that's like in another building, another state, any type of like whatever position she have. It got to be something a couple blocks down I can go to. Nah, bro. They really got me in front of a freaking the ring girl all grown up with a corporate job.
So the office began to pack up.
Hey, we're all heading out soon. Do you need any help with anything?
She stopped writing. Slowly, she lifted her head, but her face was still obscured by hair. A whisper reached my ears, so faint I wasn't sure I heard it.
That face is crazy.
They can't see me.
A chill ran down my spine.
Excuse me?
She resumed writing, even more frantically than before. The lights above flickered. I looked around.
Time to
the rest
go.
of the office seemed unaffected. Gathering my belongings, I hurried to leave.
Should have been left,
As
but...
I exited, I glanced back. She was watching me, her face partially visible. Her eyes were dark, sunken, filled with an emotion I couldn't place.
My last day.
I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong.
Yeah.
The next day, I arrived to find a sticky note on my monitor. See me in my office, Mr. Thompson. Great. Was I already in trouble? In his office, Mr. Thompson gave me a concerned look. Emma, is everything all right? Some of your colleagues mentioned you seemed distracted.
I'm fine.
She looked crazy.
Let us know if you
Now
need
she's losing it.
anything. Back at my desk, the
Where'd she go,
woman
though?
was absent. Relief washed over me. Maybe she'd taken the day off. Hours passed and she didn't show. As I focused on a particularly tedious spreadsheet, the overhead lights flickered again. The screen glitched, lines of random numbers and symbols replacing my data. Frustrated, I called IT. Mark arrived,
She about to jump out the
frowning
screen.
at the monitor. That's odd. Looks like some kind of data corruption. As he worked, I noticed a reflection in the darkened part of the screen. Behind me stood the woman, her face inches from mine. I spun around, but no one was there.
Did you see
Telling you,
that?
bro.
Mark denied. He gave me a sympathetic smile. Take care of yourself, okay? By late afternoon, the office was nearly empty. I decided to investigate. I approached her desk. The notepad was there, covered in frantic handwriting. I hesitated, then picked it up. The pages...
Man, there's probably curses over there, man. Ancient freaking... Probably ancient curses in there she writing. And mess around and read it and get possessed.
were filled with a single phrase repeated over and over. They don't see. They don't see. A sudden cold enveloped me.
You see me.
I whipped around. She stood directly in front of me,
shit.
hair no longer hiding her face. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, eyes hollow and filled with despair.
I was like you. New. Eager. What happened?
Tears streamed down her cheeks.
They pushed me too hard. They don't see. They don't see.
The room darkened. The office lights burst, plunging the room into darkness. I stumbled back, tripping over a chair. When I looked up, she was gone. Emergency lights flickered on. I couldn't move. Days later, after taking time off, I returned to collect my things. I couldn't stay there. As I packed up, I found a small envelope on my desk. Inside was a faded photograph of the woman, smiling, surrounded by people at an office party. On the back, a name was scrawled, Helen Brooks. I approached Mr. Thompson.
Mr. Thompson, what happened to Helen Brooks?
He stiffened, eyes narrowing. Where did you hear that name? I showed him the photo.
She gave this to me.
Helen was an employee here. She left us some time ago.
Why did no one mention her?
She jumped from the window where you sit after she was denied a deserved promotion.
Dang.
Different manager then. She kept saying they don't see me. It's not something we discuss. As I left the building,
She should got the promotion. That would have saved her life.
Desk. For a moment, I thought I saw her standing there, watching. Then she faded like a shadow in the sunlight. I never saw her again. Maybe she felt like someone saw her, and she finally found peace.
She should have got the promotion. What the frick? Yeah, her getting the promotion would have saved her life and all of that. They said she deserved it. Wouldn't have to worry about running to a freaking ex-coworker spirit. That's how it be too. That's why with these freaking jobs, man, never work as hard as you can. No. About being a hard worker, nah. Work hard enough to where you don't lose your job. Because this happens, it happens every single time. You work a job, you go above and beyond. It's like, no, I'm gonna be a good little worker. I'm gonna do this for the company, make sure everything's good. Woo woo. You go 200%. The managers, they see you going 200, then they gonna try to have you do something that's not in your job description, something that you didn't apply for. You over there stalking. They have you running doing the register. They got you doing janitorial work. No. And then not only that, it set a standard that they try to have you right here. And then if you don't hit this point consistently, then they get mad at you. Like, bro, I'm only human. So that's why every time I've had a job, I make sure I did the least work possible. The least of work, just enough to keep the job. That's it. Not going no higher. Not going no lower. Frick y'all. And then y'all want to pay either? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As soon as, and then it be blowing me. You say it's all about it's a family. You know what I'm saying? We love each other here. We take care of each other. As soon as the higher ups come into the store, y'all ready to throw the employees under the bus so y'all can look good. It's crazy. The owners coming to the store, they be treating us like we didn't kill somebody. Treating us like prisoners of war. That's tough.
All this time, desperation accompanied me, and I could think of nothing else to do. When I noticed the ads for a secretary, I took it. It was quite a normal advertisement. An elderly woman required a secretary to answer on many kinds of tasks, sounding simple, which at that point I took my life for all that simpler. Mrs. Thorne, the elderly lady, replied promptly to my application
like a man in a
me
wig.
to come over to her place for my first day at work. Her address led me to an old sprawling house on the outskirts of town. It had a creepy charm to it, but I declined paying heed to the uneasy feelings creeping up my spine. This was my chance to put my life back on track. When Mrs. Thorne opened the door, she warmly invited me in.
Like
she was frail and sharp-eyed, seeming to see right through me.
Would you like some tea before we begin?
she asked, her voice as creaky as the floorboards under my feet. And to make a good impression, I agreed. I remembered the bitter taste of the tea. It was warm yet cold simultaneously.
Laced.
As I continued drinking, my sight became blurred.
Told you. I told you this is not no woman. And how much you want to bet? I could be wrong, but this is probably she gonna wake up and he gonna take the wig off. Gotcha, bitch. Is a freaking man. This is literally some Diddy, not even trying to joke. This is literally some Diddy activity. You going up to the freaking mansion, you think you lit, Diddy passes you a drink, you sip it, you wake up butt naked with your booty hole sore. That's tough. How do I know that? Don't worry about that.
My body limp, and this is what I remember last. Mrs. Thorne's wicked smile. There was no dawn, yet my eyes snapped open to find myself lying in a musty, dimly lit basement where chains bit deep into my wrists. The air inside was icy, damp, without a sound other than the drip of water far away echoing from some other room. Panic overwhelmed me as I strained against the chains, which did not budge an inch. Mrs. Thorne stepped into view at the top of the stairs as she slowly descended them in eerily tranquil movement.
Welcome back, dear,
she said, her voice chillingly serene.
What's all this? Why am I... You have a task to complete.
She handed me a set of tools and some wooden
crazy.
boards.
Build your coffin,
she commanded. My eyes snapped open in horror. I shrieked for help.
Are you insane? Let me go
She
right
thinks
now.
she thinks she Jigsaw.
Mrs. Thorne only laughed.
Nah. Ain't no game.
See that on your leg?
Then pointed to my ankle. An
bomb?
odd device. A bangle-like thing was attached to my right ankle. I watched Mrs. Thorne taking out a small remote, then pressing a red button on it. Electricity surged through my body. I convulsed and barely could keep myself from crying out.
Now, are you going to do as I say?
Lady Crazy.
She asked, her eyes glinting with malevolent glee. I nodded, shuddering in agony. I began hammering the coffin together as my brain twisted and
That's so
contorted for an
crazy.
escape.
Why does she want her for? For what reason do you have to give her the Diddy juice and make her build her own coffin, man? Bro. If anything, we need to be building up your coffin.
As Mrs. Thorne spoke sick fantasies to me while laboring, I found out she wanted to have buried a person alive, and then all her life listened to the screams.
My dark,
her voice
twisted
dripped
fantasy.
with sadistic pleasure, and I knew I wasn't her first victim, but I
Yeah.
vowed to be the last. Mrs. Thorne didn't know anything about my dark past. I had worked for a secret hitman agency in Mexico. Wanting to start fresh brought me back to the States. My stealth and combat skills weren't, however, on par with the point at which the agency was paying. I meant to use them as my ticket through this nightmare.
That's extremely
As I knelt
convenient.
to
What
set
the
the
frick?
coffin upright, loosening the gear on my ankle with the screwdriver dangling
Gotta
from my
twerk.
hip
Go
was
ahead.
merely
Keep
an
twerking.
automatic act. Every
Yeah.
motion was swift and controlled, the byproduct of
Bounce.
the years of discipline. Mrs. Thorne remained oblivious to my intentions as she basked in her sadistic fantasy. Finally, I released the anklet. With a jerky motion, I flung myself at Mrs. Thorne,
There we
knocking
go.
her down to the floor.
There we
Although
go.
thin and fragile, she seemed to exert untold strength and struggling. My greater strength in the end won. I strapped the device to her wrist and grasped the remote.
Now, you shall obey me.
I hissed through icy arrogance. From then onwards, tables turned.
I would've
Mrs.
tortured
Thorne
her.
became afraid and was bound to follow my order.
Yeah, if that was me in that situation, and she gotta listen to my area command, her bank account is getting cleaned, bro. Every single drip of currency is going to my pocket. Facts. Your money, your kids' money, your nieces, your nephews' money, that's mine. After that, I might spare you. You got to get on your knees and start barking like a dog. I might spare you. But I like this, though.
For the next 3 days, I forced her to write a will where she left all her properties to me. Next 3 months
Yes,
straight,
sir!
I played the good secretary. The neighbors got used to my kind disposition toward the elderly Mrs. Thorne. I ensured that everyone had my side as the dutiful caretaker of that old granny. These 3 months, Mrs. Thorne laid like a broccoli around the house.
Yep.
And then one fine day, I put Mrs. Thorne into a wheelchair and placed her above the stairs. She knew the end and begged for her life. With a cold, emotionless expression, I hit the button on the remote. Mrs. Thorne convulsed in anguish.
Right
As
on
her
the...
convulsive movements rolled the wheelchair over. She fell down the stairs,
Woo!
her neck snapping with a grotesque crack. Her death was ruled an accident. That was when the lawyer finally called me and told me that Mrs. Thorne had willed everything to me. I pretended to cry and told him how sorry I was and that she was close to me. I demanded some kind of memorial and funeral should be done to pay respects to the dead owner. During the funeral, I made Mrs. Thorne lie in that coffin which I had built under compulsion. As the coffin was lowered into the grave, I sat there and looked at it. My face was unreadable since I had survived and had ensured the future generations would not have to pass through what I did. But for sure, the darkness of my past and what I went through will forever be seen as marks against my soul.
That was a fantastic turnaround. That was a great revenge. It was kind of specific, saying that she had worked with like the hitman in Mexico. I don't know. That was kind of random, but that's it. The 3 first day on the job animated horror stories. Man, I love that third one. Third one definitely was the best one for sure. She got her due. Got her just due. Freaking, I would have done the same thing. Played the long game, put her joint in her will, giving it all to me. Feeling sad, yeah, got to. You know, I would have put on an amazing acting role. Facts. I'm telling y'all now, bro. Never do too much work, bro. I know it's coming from me, but bro, if you try to work if you work too hard, bro, they gonna try to run you to the freaking ground. 1. 2, they're gonna try to have you working jobs you didn't even apply for. You might as well. You're gonna be a regular team member working like you're a freaking store owner. Don't do that. Mind you, doing all that for equal pay. And the pay ain't even going up or nothing. Don't do that. So work just good enough to where you don't get fired. Especially if they're not treating you right. Now, if they treat you right and they actually like get things done for the company and the store, and they actually like give out wages and give y'all and pay y'all right. Do them right. But other than that, absolutely not. No. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Kwemek Sigikwe, aka your favorite worker.